Hey, it's Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley, and you are listening to 6th Scale Scavengers.
All right, Scavengers, welcome to episode 64 of the 6th Scale Scavengers Hot Toys podcast live stream on YouTube. We talk Marvel, Star Wars, DC Comics whenever they release figures, Chris. That's what we do here. And we are kicking off our first show of the year 2021. We're planning to get back to our roots a little bit. Shout out to our friend James over in Shanghai right now. He has been going back through our back catalog, Chris, back to the early days, the dark days before TC was around. I listened to those old episodes here and there, just little bits and parts, and it feels really weird to not have TC there. So I am Bryan Fontaine as your host, joined as always with my good friends Chris Letty and TC. Guys, to be honest, we talked about it a little bit before we went live. With what's going on in the United States right now, it feels a little weird to be talking about collecting and toys and hot toys and stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there's still a lot of good out in this world. And if we can be any kind of a little bit of a positive glimpse in people's days, I think that's why we decided to go on with the show. And that's what we'll just say about that. But I couldn't not say anything about what's going on kind of at this point. So if we can be any kind of a distraction this evening, if you're watching live with our community or catching this on the download or listening in your the audio podcast here. But so guys, new year, not necessarily new us. We've been around for, Chris, July 2018 is when we started this endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
At least twice a month. And it's probably maybe not as impressive on the episode count that we have for, a show that might be broadcasting more weekly or whatnot. But I don't know, something about 64 sounds like a pretty cool number here. So anyways, welcome. If you're a returning scavenger, if you just found us, welcome. We going back all the way to the beginning, Chris, we never claimed to be experts. We definitely are not that. And we continue to learn. We make mistakes, but mostly we are here for the community. I know I saw Mike, our moderator, out there already greeting Scavengers, and ultimately I thought it'd be good just to get back to our roots a little bit, especially for new Scavengers that don't have the benefit or the time. And I wouldn't ask anybody to go back through those early episodes. I'm sure they're not good, but maybe if there's any topics and stuff that we can revisit this year, that's one of the things that we're going to do. And one of the things we haven't done in a long time, guys, was an open mic, like ask questions, Chris. I looked back at our archives, and I'm not much of a historian about our show. Usually you're the one, or TC will remember. Episode 33, Halloween 2019 is the last time we did one of these live Q&As.
We should change that.
I know, right?
We should do them a little more.
Well, let's see how tonight goes first, and then we'll
get crickets during the topic section.
I don't know. Based on how many people are watching and commenting live, I'm sure that's going to happen here at some point. And so anyways, if you are new, we're a hot toy collecting show. We cover news. We give updates on our own collections. We cover helpful topics that we think would benefit the collecting community at large. And then we didn't last time out because we had our special episode where we handed out the figure of the year. going to OG Mando TMS 07. But we also end with a feature review figure every time out. So this episode, we are going to be going over one of the top 3 figures, according to our scavenger community in 2020, was Commander Cody from Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. And guys, I mean, Mandalorian's in our rearview mirror. We're still not going to really talk about spoilers too much. I mean, if something comes up in conversation, we won't just shoo it away. But I mean, next Friday, WandaVision starts. And then they'll go for 8 or 9 episodes that we've heard. There'll be about a week in between. I think there's still going to be some kind of a Marvel Legends show or something about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then we get Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that's going to lead us right up to Black Widow. So, wow. Chris, isn't that crazy? Hype train's going.
Crazy.
Marvel's going to be back. Just watch. The Marvel market has been underperforming, and it might be back now that they're going to be. I mean, if you think about it, next Friday up until the summer, you're going to get a Friday dose of Marvel on Disney Plus, Chris.
Yeah, it's going to be Marvel every day, every week. It's going to come back around. Like you're saying, the Marvel figures have dipped significantly as of late, but expect a resurgence of those Marvel figures and the demand to go back up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really, really like what I'm seeing with WandaVision, just the zaniness, the craziness of it. And yeah, we'll probably keep it pretty spoiler free throughout the season, but we'll see how those previous figures perform as the show releases.
I gotta. What's a Marvel? Yeah, I know a lot of us Star Wars collectors are going to be feeling that, but it's going to be. I mean, obviously, like we talked about, there's a lot of really crummy stuff going on in the world. It's nice to be able to pull up the chair, pull up the microphone every 2 weeks to talk to 2 of my closest friends and everybody else in the community. It's really cool. Guys, I was not sure I wanted to mention it. I'm still not sure. I'm seeing some interesting reports in the live chat right now on potentially
breaking news.
The subscriber count on our channel. Chris, we don't do that typical like this video, smash that, whatever people say. Literally, we'd be talking.
Hit this button. Hit
this guy down here. But anyway, so maybe it was a false alarm earlier today, but we're really proud of our community, and I can't thank everybody enough that you enjoy hanging out with us. And a special shout out to James. He did a video earlier in the Economist group and giving us a shout out. It's really cool. I mentioned to you earlier, guys, is like just out of the blue, just somebody doing something kind out of the kindness of their heart without being asked and stuff. And I mean, to me, out of anything that we do, that's one of the coolest feelings that we could have for what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about the support and the friendships and, the cross promotion between, other shows and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm representing some 6 scale economist,
nice.
T-shirt here. So, gotta represent those guys. Ty Popsick is just killing it with his promotion for us. So thanks everyone. We just do what we do. So yeah,
very generous. And it's like when you do a podcast once every 2 weeks, you got to be okay with not getting the sub count.
Yeah.
It comes very slow. There's no videos for obviously 2 week periods. So you just don't get that algorithm hit from YouTube if you do a lot of shorter content. So,
I mean, if you guys look at the amount of people that tune in live versus the number of people that subscribe, I mean, our ratio it's right up there with some of the best. So that is the testament to this community. It's certainly not a testament to the 3 of us who are a bunch of hacks that just, show up every 2 weeks. And as we mentioned last time, there's so much effort that goes into this behind the scenes. I more than I would care to admit. But it's fun. If it was work, I wouldn't do it. If it was work, I definitely would not do it. It's fun. All right, guys, let's get this show on with it, and we'll talk news. We have 4 releases to talk about, some interesting sideshow announcements. But one cool thing, and if I had any kind of a graphic or something, I'd throw it up on the screen here. But I thought we'd start with a little bit of trend analysis. I'm a stat geek, used to do fantasy football analysis, make my own projections and stuff. I wish I could still do that. But what I can do is analyze trends. And I thought this show out, excuse me, guys, start with kind of like the state of Star Wars releases. And next time out, I think it'll be timely to, with WandaVision being out, we can look at the Marvel releases before we get into each of these figures. But I wanted to look at some of the trends. Now, obviously, 2020 is in the books. I think we want to light it on fire and never look back at it. But it was interesting to see from a standpoint of what did Hot Toys announce, what did they release, and what have they been going on for the last couple of years. So we'll go in reverse order, starting in 2020, go back to 2018, and then I'll make some kind of predictions of what we can kind of expect to see in the year 2021 here. So, all right, guys, last year, Hot Toys announced 25 Star Wars figures, 21 if you remove any deluxe versions or vehicles, and they released 22 figures, which is pretty high, more than I would have expected.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris, if you go back to 2019, they only announced 17 figures. And if you think back to Roy's time with Rogue One 6th, the guys are always bemoaning the fact that there's like, come on, where's the Star Wars releases? 17 that year, and actually only 15 if you take out the additional Leia and Wicket that kind of up that count. So it's really 15. And they released 15 figures. So there wasn't even a lot of figures being released in the year 2019. So TC, if you go back to 2018, which would be what those would have been like the Last Jedi figures coming out, a lot of that other
one.
Yep. 2018, we've got 23 announced, but only 16 unique ones if you take out deluxe or vehicle figures. And they did release 23, but if you take out like the droid pack, you had BB-8 and BB-9E and the mouse droid, that kind of inflates that. There was only 16 they released in 2018. So if you averages aren't so good, but if you look at that, I know we're always like, just every day you want to just wake up, look at the Hot Toys Facebook account and say, did they release something new? Did they announce it? We're probably going to get, guys, like 17 to 20 announcements this year. There's going to probably be a heavy Mando presence. Hopefully there's a couple more Clone Wars figures, but every time you get a release, that's one less that they're going to do. I'm not really expecting much more than that. And to be honest, guys, I'm also not really expecting more than 20 releases. If you look at what they have unreleased but announced at this point, 21 figures are unreleased. 3 of them go all the way back to 2019 at this point. So with Heavy Mando releasing, and we'll talk about that, the last 3 from 2019 are IG-11, which has to be imminent. I know Hidalgo thought that maybe even after the show tonight, it'll be released. Giving you props, my friend. And then we've got Rey and Kylo from Rise of Skywalker. And those are looking like they'll probably be springtime releases. From there, you jump up to, you got the Scout Trooper and then the full-size child. So that's March and April. So really, Star Wars is pretty current outside of those couple figures.
Yeah, I mean, and then so we've got, and then we've also, there's been figures that they've shown at different shows and stuff like that. We can probably expect a number of those to get put up for pre-order at some point this year, hopefully. Some of them have been stretched out pretty far, but I know that's exactly what I'm talking about, Nathan, is the Clone Wars Obi-Wan. I mean, that one's a big one that we've seen several times. And then also the Bespin 2.0 Luke Skywalker. We've seen that a couple times. So I think that those would potentially be coming soon, fingers crossed. As we've seen with Hot Toys in the past, their number, the numbers are fairly consistent with, what they announce, what they release, but it's what they announce and what they release and when they do it is always, sometimes it's up, debatable why a figure's coming out now and why hasn't one getting released yet or whatever.
Yeah, you could probably get some clones. Probably get a few Mando figures, like you said, Bryan, and then maybe they'll mix in a couple OT stuff, and maybe you'll even get this year, along with Clone Wars Obi-Wan, maybe you'll get Episode 1 Obi-Wan. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a good year for Star Wars. Looking forward to what they've got in the pipeline. I'm sure they've got some really cool stuff.
For sure. All right. I don't know if anybody thought that is as interesting as I did, but I just think we always are thinking like, just give me more, more, more. You got to think that there's a cap at a certain point. And every time they announce or release one, that's one less that's available for them. They only have finite resources and time. And based on 3-year trends, I don't think that they're ever going to really press more than, we'd be lucky to get more than on an average 2 per month. I mean, that would be on the high end. So I just, as a collector, keep that in mind as the year goes along. We are, we obviously we want to talk about these releases and stuff, but I think it's also as important as a collector to kind of, collect in moderation. And it's really easy to get caught up in the hype when we're talking about these new releases and stuff, every 2 weeks. And, obviously we get excited about this because we're fans of the product that Hot Toys puts out. I mean, their track record is unparalleled. They do make mistakes. They're not always perfect, but overall, I mean, they are one of the best in the world for a reason. So, all right, on to why one of the reasons they're the best in the world is on screen here. We've got Spider-Man Classic Suit TC, another figure that had been on display during Sideshow Con this summer, Groundhog Day Con, as we kind of called it and dubbed it, from the Spider-Man PS4 game, not the Miles Morales game. This is VGM 48. The MSRP on this is $260, announced on December 28th. We are looking at Q1 to Q2 2022, or Sideshow is looking at January to March 2022.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that everyone's been wanting. It took a while to get here. 5 or 6 other ones released before it, but it looks great. It seems like a good value for the money. You get the extra diorama and accessory. Was that like a scorpion or something?
Scorpion, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is what everyone's vision of Spider-Man is, or 80% of people think of Spider-Man as this in the classic suit. So I'd imagine this one would be very popular. And like I said, long awaited and looks great. Looks just like they just continue to improve and refine that design. Started with the upgrade suit, and now they've kind of landed at this, and I think it's a really good time to release it. I think they've done enough with the variants, comic book or video game related, and it's time to give the fans what they want, and good release.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if this is going to be, they're going to take a break from the VGM Spider-Man suits for a little bit, capping it off with this one. But yeah, Danny Lee's correct. Classic Ditko, Steve Ditko, one of the creators of Spidey. It's just it is what it says it is. It's the classic Spider-Man suit. The coloring, the design of the web patterns, everything. It's just, basically looks like it popped off a 1960s comic book. I love it. I love the design. The base and the diorama, yes, they add a different element to it. Is that what would drive me to pick this up? Not necessarily. It's a cool, cool addition to it. Kind of gives you a pseudo impression that there's a villain fighting Spidey, but it's all about the figure with this. This is, if you were to get one Spider-Man, this is the Spider-Man. I mean, that's, this is one that I'll probably get eventually, but I'm gonna wait as far as pre-ordering goes, and yeah.
I mean, you guys have said a lot of it already, so there's not much more I can add. I agree, like the classic Ditko design pops like right off the comic book, like you said, Chris. You know, I think for me, this actually looks pretty durable. I mean, it's got like that rubberized material. It's got kind of the more of the tracksuit look that you got from the advanced suit than the form fitting. I don't know if that means it'll hold up a little bit more. I mean, the suit material looks a lot more rugged than what we're used to for, say, like Iron Spider.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. And actually, to be honest, and I haven't been, I don't think I've ever seen the advanced suit one in hand, so I can't speak to it. I mean, the material looks very similar. I mean, I think the longevity is there. I think you still may have some long-term posing problems, but you know, I think you could make some quick, you know, poses and stuff and return it kind of back to air quotes museum pose. And anybody new, you know, you've got museum poses mostly just standing straight up and down, you know, arms kind of at the sides, not really stretching any of the suit joints or anything. That's what a lot of collectors kind of prefer to, you know, keep their figures in when they're not displaying them for photographs. So I think overall, guys, I think, you know, I think a really solid design here. Next up, probably one of the worst kept secrets out there. And I know we've got thoughts about this.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts. We do.
The reissue of the Iron Man Mark V. Chris, all the way back in episode 1,
right?
We reviewed this figure. It was a dual review. We had this and Luke Skywalker MMS524. And I don't know why, but there's been a reason why that figure's had a resurgence lately. I can't put my finger on exactly why, but it's just, it feels like Groundhog Day. We're talking about this figure again, and it is a straight reissue, guys. Mm-hmm. So TC, the product code is exactly the same. MMS 400 D18 for diecast 18. The MSRP is $360 even. The original was $344.99. So I believe it came out in 2018, the beginning of 2018. So you're only talking $15 inflation in 3 years. Not bad. Exactly the same. Yeah. Obviously announced on New Year's Day, January 1st. We got an early preview on it. It was about lunchtime on New Year's Eve here in the States, but technically it released in Hong Kong on the 1st. That's what I base our release dates on. We're going to have to wait a while on this TC, though. Q2, Q3, 2022. Sideshow pegs it at April to June 2022. Year and a half.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Long time. Chris, did you want to speak first, or do you want me to?
No, go ahead. It's fine.
All right. So obviously great figure. And Hot Toys, you know they were going to make this one again eventually, whether it be this or Neon Tech or Holo version, something, because they're not just going to let that mold sit for good. I mean, they're going to use it for something. It's one of their best ones, if not their best. You could make an argument. I didn't like really the timing of it. It wasn't to me a great business move. And I did some research. Got here, if you can look on the screen, very professional research. So I was looking at the Marvel market right now. And if you compare prices in Hong Kong to prices at Sideshow, for 7 figures, Star-Lord, $75 cheaper at Toys Buying Agent than Sideshow. Iron Spider, $47. Far From Home Stealth Suit Deluxe, $88 cheaper if you buy it abroad versus Sideshow. And I'm not even including tax, just shipping from Sideshow and part of the price. So this is pretty conservative. Homemade Suit, $64 cheaper. Nebula, $40. Endgame Rocket, $61. Endgame Thanos, $95 cheaper. So the Marvel market's right now in the dumps. It's pretty much trash. And you've got an MSRP that doesn't hold up anywhere. And your main supplier offers it at the most expensive price, and none of the prices in the secondary market are close to it. And then you've got a revered figure. I don't even have the figure because I sold it about a month ago because I had a feeling this might happen. You got a revered figure, maybe the best figure in just the standard 12-inch figures out there, and you're going to dilute the product. To me, that's not healthy for a company where you're really, you want that healthy secondary market because it drives the rest of your products. Instead, everyone's going to put the resources into this figure. It's going to stay at retail. It now becomes just another Iron Man, and then the rest of your figures suffer. So I know it's not about, investing, but at the same time, it's not a good thing when you're diluting your brand equity. So that's my thing. I think they could have waited on it, give it another year or two. I don't think people were really clamoring for it because the prices were relatively stable at like 800 to 1,000.
They're coming down. I mean, they were coming down. They were low in that.
The Mark 47, like a year ago, was rising. It was at the end of Endgame, the hype and all that kind of stuff. It was still rising in the market. There was increased demand.
$1,700,
It's a bit of a shame, and I think people should have it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I think it's a bit of a shame to see one of the great figures be diluted to just another figure amongst the 600 that they've made. It was a special figure, and unfortunately, it'll take time to get that mantle back, but it looks great.
So, I mean, Chris, even going back to last summer when Whiplash 2.0 was announced, you could have read the tea leaves at that point.
Yeah.
So, it was, you factor in, why would they just make Whiplash 2.0 out of the blue? And there was another thought I was going to make. I'm sure it was completely awful, but you've got a figure that obviously was 3X. And that seems to be when Hot Toys would consider it. I mean, Shore Trooper, waiting on the wings here. Again, for some other reason, Shore Troopers have been on the tip of people's tongue lately. I can't put my finger on why. I don't know. Like, I'm mixed about this. Like, TC, I'm probably more in the middle of where you are. Chris, I don't know how you feel about it, but I mean, it's just... I own it, and I bought it on the high end. I don't care that I paid what I did because it was to complete the diecast Iron Man collection. I'm just waiting on the 85 and 85 battle damage at this point. I mean, it's something that I collect with my son. He loves Iron Man. It is what it is. If I had waited, I would have been able to save some money. But I mean, on the other hand, Chris, I mean, it is. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it either.
Yeah, so I have mixed feelings as well because this is like one of my top favorite figures in my collection, and I bought this at retail originally. It was one of the first figures I pre-ordered when I got into the game, and it felt. I know there's a lot of chatter about not investing in toys and stuff like that. But to be honest, investors that invest in stocks also invest in other things. They look at what is, what areas to diversify. And I myself, along with TC, and I know a lot of other collectors too, I kind of look at my collection as equity. I have equity in some of these purchases, and with this figure I had, because the value was significantly higher, 2.5 times what I paid for it, at the height. Really, to me, it felt good, like I had spent my money wisely. I had made the right purchase at the time, but now it's like I'm happy that other collectors are going to be able to get it, no doubt. I mean, because this figure is so awesome. But it does kind of make you think, like, what other figures are going to get reissued? How are you going to, is this going to change, how you collect? Because I mean, I was considering selling the figure because I had a feeling it was going to get re-released too. And, it's one of those figures, 6-scale economists talked about it. Like, can you make one figure into 2 figures or 3 figures? And I was just had too much stuff going on, wasn't able to relist it. I literally had taken pictures of it to potentially list it, and just I was too late. And now I'm fine with keeping it, but it's a missed opportunity from a financial aspect. But
So
yeah, so I don't know. It's
just
it's
really
tough.
quick. Like when you first start collecting octos, you don't care about the value.
Yeah.
Like when you first saw, oh, that's an amazing figure. I would like to have one of those Iron Man figures. But it's just when you get into something for so long, it does change. Like you can't take things in a vacuum. So your opinion and your viewpoint changes. So the people that are new, obviously, that's great. It's just that I don't want to spend my money recklessly. And when I feel...
I do.
Yeah. When I feel I need to make a pivot if this is kind of how the company's going to go. Because if I'm spending a little bit of premium on something, but then it's gonna drop, why would I do that? Why would I spend $400 or $500 on something when it's going to be worth $300 in a year or two, when I could have spent the $200 on something else that I know will increase in value? That's where I kind of get at, because it's already an investment financially to buy these. It's not cheap. So then you then start losing money. That's where it doesn't make me feel good as a person. It makes me feel like I'm being dumb, and I don't like that feeling. So that's where I kind of got a little bit disappointed in that. So that has nothing to do with the figure. The figure itself is great, and Hot Toys has every right to do that. It's just it becomes a dangerous game on their end. But then at the same time, it's also makes me rethink what I need to do with my collection going forward.
I think that's a whole nother topic another time, TC, when we talked about like the Marvel market in Hong Kong versus, somebody in our group had made the comment too is, Hot Toys makes all their decisions based on the Hong Kong market, and Marvel is better than Star Wars over there, but stateside. And, we have our own database to go on. We obviously maintain our own database of Marvel, Star Wars, DC Comics, all the releases they've done to date. And if we look at like 2020 traffic, I mean, we had like 70,000 site hits, which for our little site is just incredible. I mean, we're not selling anything. It's just informational only. We're not making money on it. And Star Wars beat out Marvel 2-1, 3-1 for almost the entire year. And month after month, it was, at least 2-1. So Star Wars is dominating the market everywhere but Hong Kong. You've got low supply for Star Wars, high demand, and then you've got high supply for Marvel, low demand. I don't feel super great about even having some Marvel stuff on pre-order this year. TC, to your very valid point there. If I'm paying the retail price, the MSRP at Sideshow, but I knew if I got it and waited, I could get it overseas for $60 to $75 cheaper. If you do that over the course of a few figures, that's one more figure you could get. So yeah. I think there's definitely a topic to dive into at another time. I don't want to derail our conversation here too much, Chris.
Yeah.
Not to say you were derailing it. I just
no, I was just going to say
going on a tangent.
No. Yeah, I was just going to say, we can elaborate on that on a further show, because each one of us have all experienced buying too soon, buying too late, that sort of thing. So it's definitely something we should talk about in the future. For
sure. All right. This release that we're going to talk about was, again, from the PS4 Spider-Man game, was the Iron Spider-Man Spider Armor Mark IV suit from the game. The VGM 43 MSRP on this one was $255. Announced June 3rd, released on January 1st, only 212 days later. And early. The Hot Toy estimate originally on this, Chris, was Q2 to Q3 2021. Sideshow had estimated April to June. Sideshow might get it in April at this point, but I mean, it's certainly like 3 months early in my opinion here. So obviously we've got another figure here, Chris, a little bit more of a shinier look, and you can have the black light with this. It doesn't look like the same material like we just talked about with the classic suit Spidey, because it does have, a sheen on some of it. I don't know a lot of people that were super excited about this one, Chris.
No, I didn't hear much buzz at all, just within our community. But I did watch Jenkin Wong's review, Figure Collecting for Dummy, his live unboxing. And it was really interesting to see the light up feature. It's really prominent. It really stands out. And I mean, this figure doesn't really do anything for me. I have no connection to it whatsoever. It's not one I would go for. But I guess if you're a fan of the game, it's a good option. It's pretty close to that classic suit look. It's just a slight variation of it. Definitely different with the mask. It's smooth as opposed to the raised webbing, and just it's just cool Spider-Man, I guess. I don't know how well this one is going to sell, honestly.
Yeah, TC, I don't even remember the suit featuring that prominently in the game. I think it was one of the ones you got towards the end, but I mean, we've talked about like the Doc Ock suit before. Like I can't recall this one being that big of a deal in the game.
I only played the game like once, so I don't even know. But I mean, Hot Toys is pushing the bar with the lighting feature, and it does look slick. I think it'd be pretty darn cool if you got like all of them like lined up in a row, and I think that'd be a pretty good look. But I think, and then they've done some work on the body. If you look at the arms, they sit really pretty darn flush to the rib cage and hips. So that's pretty darn good on their end, and they're constantly improving. You can tell it's just you got to make choices somewhere, and I think unless you're going for all of them, I think there's probably 3 or 4 that I would choose ahead of this one. Upgrade suit, the 2099, the classic suit, and then I don't know, Iron Spider.
Yeah,
probably ahead of it, but it looks good.
You know what else looks good?
Big boy,
Heavy Mando, or as I've been calling him, Fat Mando, PHAT. This,
oh man,
we got an early sneak preview of this, guys. TC, this was in that the teaser image that Hot Toys gave us for what was going to come Q1 2021. We got it on New Year's Day. Originally was announced on November 27th, 2019, released obviously January 1st, 2021. 401 days from start to finish. TC, I kept thinking that this one was like late, but actually it was like pretty much right on time with the original estimates. The original estimates had it Q4 2020 to Q1 2021. Sideshow had the estimate as October. October to December. They'll be a little late on their end, but it wasn't like it was super late. I just, like with everything else coming out, it was the 3rd Mandalorian figure announced. I mean, I think we did like a special debrief on this in our group afterwards, because it was like the minute we stopped the stream that that day on the 27th or the 26th, excuse me, it like dropped and we had to talk about this. So, I mean, TMS 010, this is like what Hot Toys collecting is all about, if you ask me.
Absolutely. It looks phenomenal. And I was trying to watch Justin's collection, his review, before we went live, and it looks great next to the original Mandalorian. And articulation's not really there. It's not terrible for a figure this size, but it's the aesthetics, it's the paint apps, it's the wear. The streamlined helmet, the accessories, the heavy gun. I mean, this is what you want. I mean, it's a great addition to the lineup for Mandalorian.
Yeah, it is just, the anticipation was there for sure with this one, just because it was a totally different kind of Star Wars figure. The bigger body, beefier, just the whole look of it. I watched again. Jenkin, he did an unboxing, the same video, and the thing was just massive compared to the other figures. And Mike is, one of our moderator in the chat. He's saying the shelf presence. This thing is going to stand out in your collection. I just love everything about this figure. And I hope that this helped Hot Toys either develop a new body for other figures and help push them to explore some of these bigger figures for Star Wars characters. Just
Chris,
such an
before
awesome,
I take it, I'll throw it over. OG Star Wars fan here. I think this is a good, a good comment to make. And I know Roy privately has told us that he's making an early proclamation that the Death Watch Mando is going to be the next like low ordered, really hot figure. But I mean, this kind of makes that a little bit more desirable. I know they're not in the same timeline, even though they're in the same show. I mean, if anything, Chris, I mean, you're right there with Mike on our team about being more of the Clone Wars historian. I mean, technically, the Death Watch figure fits more into the Clone Wars era. You fit more with your Clone Wars figures than it would with the Mandalorian line.
I know, absolutely. Going up against a Bo-Katan figure or something like that in the future. I just think, obviously, Star Wars collectors just love the Mandalorian style, and they could release a couple of the other Mandos in this crew, and I think they would be, even though they're just background characters, I think they would just be awesome to have more Mandalorians in the mix. But we'll take this one, and you can see that this figure was not heavily pre-ordered because of the prices of the first batch in Hong Kong. It's just nuts. I've seen prices $500-600. Yeah. And I've got mine ordered through Underground Figures. So, a smaller US retailer. So it'll be a little bit later than, Sideshow will get it. But still, I mean, if this is one that you were on the fence with, I would try finding a retailer that's got them close to, the MSRP.
Yeah, and I feel like, honestly, even though like the Death Watch Mandalorian is not from the same era, it's because the Mandalorian's so spaced out. You got now 2 seasons, tons of material. Like, I don't feel the need that I need to have, they're paired up right next to each other. Like, I feel like you could have a display with like all of them kind of just intermingled, because it's just one big little mini universe there. So I think it goes with anything. The Mandalorian line is phenomenal. A little bit lacking the one thing, the head sculpts, but if you just talk about the armors that you've seen, it's just some of the great designs probably in Star Wars history, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, they've had all the guys that are working, Doug Chiang and all of them that are doing the Skywalker films and stuff. They were all working on the Mandalorian here. So, they maybe reused a lot of props from Rogue One and Solo, like we've talked about in the past, but you didn't see this anywhere else. And I know obviously Jon Favreau voiced this character. Technically, the character is Paz Vizsla from House Vizsla. I mean, there's a whole story to be told there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't know the fate of this character. We could still see him again. So I think if we did, I think that would be awesome. But I mean, just some of the photography here. I mean, Kindar, a lot of the normals, BG Toy Art. I mean, these guys just do phenomenal work. They elevate these figures. Yes, there's some Photoshops done and stuff like that, but they're still working with the base figure. I mean, I just love this scene. I still always crack up at this scene in Chapter 3 when he gives the Mando salute to Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, when he's taken off from Navarro there. I think that's so cool. But yeah. I mean, and I said a lot of chatter in the chat here too about like, there's only so many figures you can get, and you gotta draw the line at some point. I can see it being one that doesn't make the cut for some. That if you balance a lot of your collecting, like you don't either get a lot of figures, you have more of a focused collection, or if you try to have Star Wars and Marvel, I can easily see the argument to say background character. If you don't have a love for the show Mandalorian, you don't love Mandalorians, the designs and stuff, I can see it being a pass. But to me, I think we're all kind of in agreement here. I think this is one that's going to probably rise in the aftermarket when it sells out.
Yeah, 100%. I feel that way. And especially if maybe we do see some more, see him in season 3, along with that other grouping of Mandalorians, whoever survived. So yeah, this is one I cannot wait to have in hand. Gonna have to wait for a little while, but it's worth it.
All right. Why is Gamora, Chris?
Where is Gamora? She is going to be arriving at Sideshow's warehouse, I think on Friday, which is a miracle. It's a straight up miracle. It's been 10,000 years since she was announced.
I mean, your kids are only like 3 years older from when you ordered her initially.
Crazy town. But yeah, so she was a day one pre-order for me. And I just got the shipping notice, or that she'll be shipping out pretty soon once it hits the warehouse. So I'm hoping that probably won't get it by the end of next week, but beginning of the following week to have her in hand. And yeah, so that's good news. Everybody that's been trying to or waiting patiently to complete their Guardians lineup should be happening soon. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, before we get to the collection update, I thought we'd just go through and rattle off. I mean, we got 73 people tuning in live. How 73 people think we're interesting is beyond me, but we got Jonathan. I saw Pops out there, Andreas, TX Boy, OG Star Wars fan, Badfish. Thanks for joining in. Obviously, Mike, some hack named Vintage Viewport. I saw Mark out there earlier, Danny Lee, Sean,
Bear was in there.
Gare Bear in the house, Gare Bear always. Obviously, James. Thank you, James, for just the support. It means a lot to us. KG Collector. Obviously, Nathan was out there earlier. Going back to earlier, Jay, Starlight, Starchild. Excuse me. On and on and on. Can't forget Kanji Club. Yeah, I think he's got a question keyed up for us later. Kellen, on and on and on and on. It's just
thanks everybody for jumping on.
Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Lots of first time live viewers. So
hopefully first time, long time. That's what we go for here. So return of the collection update. Again, why people find this interesting, it's beyond me. And it's been a while since we've done this. I figured it'd just be easier just to what's gone on within the last week or so, because trying to remember back past the holidays was just tough of when we talked about what. So we figured at least just from a beginning of the year going forward, we'll talk a little bit about what we've got going on. So TC, anything rattling around in that brain of yours?
Oh, always. But I did get Cody in, and I really like it. I actually had two on order. I was actually gonna sell them because I just didn't know. I don't know. I'm not like Cody's not my favorite clone, but at the same time, this one I don't really want to feel like I missed out on. And it, having opened it, it looks really great. And I dig the matte finish on. I guess we'll talk about him later. I'm getting details later, but I love the matte finish and the weathering, and just awesome head sculpt too. And so I had a second one that I was gonna end up selling, but I got worried that it was gonna have that defect. So I opened it up with the shoulder. So the defect of the shoulder, the butterfly joint, and sure enough, it had the issue. It's like the shoulder, it won't stay up. The only way it stays up is if you force the shoulder up into the joint and then just have his arm straight down on the sides. But you move it at all, it then sags. So I'm going to return it to BBTS. I hate doing that, but it's a disappointment that the body had that kind of defect. So I returned that one. But so Cody's the main pickup last couple weeks.
Very cool. Yeah, just quick thought on that too. I think there was I thought I had one that was like that too, but it was really just you kind of had to like really jam the shoulder up and in, and I think it would catch. And I don't know if I haven't seen a dissected Cody yet to really look at the body underneath to see if it was a new one or not. So I think there's unfortunately, TC, you got one lemon out of two. I think there really is one where the shoulder just doesn't.
It's the left one. It's the left shoulder. It's the same thing. Like you want it to be able, I don't need to do dynamic poses all the time, but you want it to be able to hold a position. You don't just want it to feel like it's completely broken. And that's kind of what it feels like. And this one's fine. It's not the joints. I don't think it's not perfect, but it's fine.
That's too bad. All right, Chris, what do you got?
Not a whole lot going on. Just got an email today from BBTS that the 2 Death Troopers that I had pre-ordered through them are probably shipping out tomorrow. So that's cool. Again, BBTS usually gets their stock a bit later than some of the other retailers. But looking forward to those. Kind of questioning why I ordered 2, but got caught up in the moment. We all know how that goes. Yeah. And then also not 6 scale related, but collection related. Definitely been inspired by TC. If you guys can see on the screen, he's got a couple prints back there framed up. Very professional. I'm not as professional, but I've been slightly obsessed with framing and mounting my various prints and that sort of thing. So the space I do have to mount stuff is in the hallway coming down into this basement, and it's all drywalled and everything. So just, using the space that I've got now, and it feels good. It's kind of therapeutic for me to kind of display stuff, and it's kind of a precursor of what's going to happen down here once I get to finishing off the basement. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me. Nothing really else happening so far this year. How about you, Bryan?
All right, and I'll wrap things up. So I know I said I was done selling for a while, but I got the bug recently, and with all the crazy stuff I had done in December, I don't even know if I talked about some of the stuff, but anyways, so looking at my Marvel collection, looking at some figures that could potentially get some new versions coming up with either upcoming shows or whatnot, and just trying to make some budget space for the year. I've got so much on the way, and I'm like you guys, probably going to make some hard decisions on some of the Marvel stuff. I'm struggling with a little bit. I've mentioned before on the show that I'd love to have an Avengers Original 6 in Endgame form. I'm really not getting too excited about the Hulk and the Thor coming, Thorbowski, and by not getting them, I'm really not completing it. And I guess ultimately at the end of the day, I'm trying to decide, is it even important that I do that? I mean, I've got the full Iron Man collection. That's not going anywhere. I love Cap, a couple other characters. So I'm still tussling with that decision. No urgent need to make anything because some of those figures aren't even released yet. But I mentioned selling a couple figures on eBay. So right now I've got, and maybe timing is maybe not, I maybe should have waited a little bit, but I've got my Falcon and Winter Soldier from Civil War out there. And then from Infinity War, the Iron Spider, and then the Doctor Strange figure. So mostly budget driven than anything. My Combat Carl, find a way to make a budget happen. Just in practice, didn't end up being the best idea. So trying to make sure I don't get myself into trouble later this year. I've got plenty of time to figure it out, but just trying to be ahead of the curve a little bit there. So on eBay, I think if anybody knows my handle out there, you can take a peek and see how they're doing. It's surprisingly well so far. So we'll see. There's still a couple days left on all those listings.
Yeah, man. Good luck with those.
All your figures autographed by Bryan.
Yes. Adds 20% value for each one.
Yeah. I'll throw a sticker in too. Multiple stickers.
There you go. Incentive.
Okay. All right. So it looks like I may have been having a little bit of audio difficulties there. So if I broke up at all, apologies. I'll get the hamster wheel going a little bit more than before. Let's switch over to our topic, open mic. So, Chris, like I said at the opening, we have not done this since episode 33. TC would have been part of the gang back then, so it's not like the three of us have never done this before.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I don't remember the last. I know we had an episode.
I don't remember it.
I don't actually remember doing it. And if it wasn't for the title and the YouTube video, I wouldn't have believed that we've actually done it before.
I know it's funny. There's so many of our other friends and fellow content creators in the community do it on a pretty regular basis, but it's not really our thing. We're probably going to try it out, see how this goes. Maybe throw in some of these throughout the year, depending on where things are at with the community and the market and all that fun stuff. But who talks first? Yeah.
Well, we'll kind of see. I do remember earlier there was a question, and I can't remember who. It may have been. I honestly don't remember who it was, but there was a topic, Chris, and you're the resident DC fan amongst the three of us. But the question about DC, as we talked about, did squat last year. They didn't announce hardly anything. They released 2 figures.
It's crazy.
It was was it Two-Face and something else? A Batman figure.
Justice League Superman did come out last year too.
No, that was 2 years. That was New Year's Eve. That was,
oh my God. That
was 2019.
Good Lord.
So outside of the Wonder Woman announcements, obviously the
Birds of Prey.
There wasn't a lot there. But anyways, the question that we got posed to us was the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
And they're looking at revamping. I don't know all the specifics. I'm not going to pretend to know what's going on there, Chris. But if they're going to reshoot a lot of that movie and re-release it, do we see any new figures as a result of that, or potentially maybe any reissues?
Yeah, I mean, I would say potentially a reissue of one of the Batman figures. That figure sold out, and the price in the secondary market for a lot of those Batman figures has jumped significantly. The Justice League Superman has gone up in value. Everybody's asking, are we going to get the black suit Superman, which we're expected to see in the movie? I would say that's pretty much a given. No indication other than, just makes sense. I doubt we're going to get a reissue of Wonder Woman, since there's already one sitting out there, which is a good stand-in. And, the big question is, where's Cyborg? And unless the Snyder Cut is extremely well received, I don't see them doing a Cyborg. Personally, I would be very, very surprised if we do get one, but I wouldn't put it past them, because this may be the year, DC gets reinvigorated with HBO Max, all the series coming, the movies coming. The next couple of years, it's going to be a lot of DC content. Well, I mean, possibilities there.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
It's there. Just really quick, I don't think they're going to do it. I think Howard Chan has said they're not doing it on multiple occasions. Yeah,
that's why I'd be extremely surprised.
All right, okay. So Nathan, Honshot first on Instagram. This could be for all of us here. What Star Wars figures are at the top of your list? I'd love to do a show about this too, because there's so many. We could do a little game. Obviously, we talked about it earlier, Chris, 17 to 20 figures probably this year. Nathan's saying that Mace Windu and Padme, given the prequels some love, are near the top of his list. Off the top of my head, I need a moment or two to think about this, because this is completely live. We didn't get these questions in advance.
I mean, those are great. We need representation for both those characters from Hot Toys, key characters in the prequel trilogy. So I would say for that trilogy, definitely. To add to that, the prequels, Chancellor Emperor Palpatine, I think is a must.
Yep.
For the prequels. I think, especially a Chancellor Palpatine, the design of his cloaks and everything, the colors and everything. I think that is a definite must in 6 scale form. And then let's see, original trilogy. I mean, we know the figures that we've been clamoring for: Bespin Han, a new Chewie, C-3PO. Get into some of the Return of the Jedi figures. I mean,
Everything.
I want, anything
you.
there. yeah, right.
I like it all.
Seriously, and then obviously now with Mandalorian, Clone Wars, we've seen those lines blow up, and Clone Wars has gotten some great figures coming to us. I think more clones, Obi-Wan, like we've seen. I think those are good. Mandalorian, Bo-Katan. I mean, I would just love to see a Bo-Katan figure.
Yeah.
So
I think it's time
Chris,
that Hot Toys.
Chris, I mean, we said a couple, not the whole line here.
I know.
Sorry. See, we just want it all. I want it all.
I think it's time they do Grievous. They need to do Grievous.
That would
There's
be
2021, 2022. It's not my favorite character, but there needs to be a Grievous in the Hot Toys catalog. They do a great job on it.
I'll go for some obscure ones. We've got an Anakin and Obi-Wan so far from the prequels. Give me every version of all those characters. The episode 1, Obi-Wan, both of them from Attack of the Clones. Padme, those are high atop my list. Obviously, I'll take more clones, but young Lando, Donald Glover, I'd love to have him next to Han. That would be awesome. I don't know if we're ever going to get Akira. I'd love a Chewie that you could swap out the bandoliers so you can make it solo, or say Empire Strikes Back. And then obviously, just due to spoiler reasons, there's a lot of stuff from The Mandalorian that I'd love to see. A couple of those characters. I mean, not really spoilers at this point, but yeah, I guess we've held the line so far. We'll just continue to hold it a little bit more kind of at this point here. TC, what outside of Grievous, anything else?
I mean, I would like to see. I've always wanted a setup of like a Chewie with C-3PO like on his back with the parts, and then Escape Leia and R2. I've always wanted that that scene, and then Bespin Luke. So those would be great from the original trilogy for me. And then Hoth. I would rather see a Hoth Han than a Bespin Han. But so the Empire, I'd like to see more come from Empire. I think there's still a lot that they could do. More than any of the other original trilogy movies for me. I think Empire, I think they could really make some good figures from.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Crypt Talk. This actually is a really morbid question to ask, but also kind of interesting to, the proverbial put you on the spot. If someone robbed your house, God forbid, and left you only 3 of your 6 scale figures, which 3 would you want them to leave? Which ones would you want to keep?
Oh man,
I'll go first. Shore Trooper number 1. Sorry to disappoint all the scavengers. I think someday I'll sell that. My Deluxe Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi. I just absolutely love that figure. Right now I've got him with the Endor cloak on. That would be probably my number 2. And number 3, I'm just looking over my collection right now. It's so tough. There's so many good choices. Just because it would be really hard to replace would be K2SO. It's such a fantastic figure. It's like one of the best that they've done. I was so nervous getting him to stand on his own without the stand, but I got a lot of great tips from our scavenger community. I didn't realize that my figure was actually leaning forward more, and you actually have to kind of bend him at the torso so he's standing more upright, and you make it, you think it's like him puffing his chest out, but that's actually how he stands, straight up and down. So that'd be my 3. Chris, what are your 3?
I'm not looking at like actual value. Mark 5,
sentimental.
Yeah, sentimental. Mark 5, Mando, original version. and probably Suicide Squad Harley. had to throw some more
Wow.
DC in there.
Yeah. TC, what do you think? What would be your 3?
Bryan just sighs.
No.
That's all I can do.
I
love it.
would keep the Beskar Mando Deluxe would be number 1. My number 2 would be the Homecoming suit Spider-Man Deluxe with the yellow jacket right there. And then number 3 is pretty kind of tough, but what would number 3 be?
Hulkbuster.
No, actually, I'd probably pick I love the Hulkbuster, but I would probably keep the original Mando. Would be my third one. The Mando figures are my favorite right now.
All right, question, and I'm maybe going to butcher the pronunciation of your name here, but Eerie, question out of all the Disney Plus Marvel shows coming up, what are we hoping for figures from the most?
Well, I mean, there's definitely possibilities for characters that have gotten previous figures to get updated versions, but I would say for me personally, because I have figures for, I have a Scarlet Witch, I've got a Vision, I've got a Bucky, I've got a Falcon. I mean, the figures in the future, I mean, Moon Knight is the one that I want the most out of all the projects coming out. Moon Knight and She-Hulk would be awesome for me, and potentially a Miss Marvel figure. So those are the ones that I would be looking for.
TC, I know there's a heck of a lot of Marvel stuff coming out.
There is Shang-Chi. I think it'd be cool to. I'd like to see I always like to see the updated Spider-Man suits, but I probably would like to see the next Ahsoka figure. Probably be the one that I'd look forward to the most. What's the next one? We got the Clone Wars one. I like the Mando design.
I would say that's
the Mando costume, and Rosario plays her really well. So I like that being my number 1.
So I'm banking on this, that there'll be new versions of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's the one I'm looking forward to. I love both those characters, and I think I just going back to like what I was talking about earlier with making that determination, and it's out of 64 episodes, guys, I've probably mentioned this on a good quarter of them. It's that thing we struggle with as collectors is loving a whole bunch of different nerd properties like we do. And then trying to balance what you want in your collection versus knowing you can't have it all. And we all have finite budget, and we're not out buying, especially all these figures we talk about. It's not like we're being gifted any of these figures. This is all money that we're spending our hard-earned money on, our any disposable income we may have. So those, like, all these decisions are always amplified. That the angst that you see on our faces when we do these collection updates, it's real, and trying to really make the best decisions that we can, and knowing that I make mistakes more often than not. So I think it's just more of like, it's so hard to be a balanced collector. It's just, every time I've tried in the last almost 3 years now to be it just doesn't work out. So I think I need to embrace just one main line and just go with it, I think is ultimately what I've probably decided. And then I'll come back. Yeah, somebody
seriously,
Brett screenshot that.
As soon as Tony makes an appearance in Black Widow.
Yeah, right. Or something.
Yeah, it's let's see here. I'm just going through to see if I can see any other questions.
Worst collecting mistake. Tank 36. I said too many.
Oh yeah. I guess I missed that question here. I'm trying to look at the board here. Let's see. Maybe we'll do one. I'm trying to see if I missed one or not here. I think those are most of it. I mean, unsolicited here. I mean, it's stuff where people want to.
What's Up Chief's latest one?
Okay, I'll grab that one. So obviously, What's Up Chief, I believe from Down Under, obviously very active on Twitter. We appreciate him tagging us every time there's a new Hot Toys release, whether it's a figure up for pre-order or sharing the photos. We appreciate getting tagged with. Chris, is there a better new Star Wars site out there than Yakface?
Oh man, yeah, Jason at Yakface. He does his due diligence and gives the collectors what they want. He gets all kinds of inside information, and I would definitely, if you're not following Yakface on Instagram or Twitter, you need to. And if you're a Star Wars collector, but yeah, great guy.
What's up, Chief? His question is, what do you do when you finish your collection? He needs Drax to finish his, and he has to wait until 2022. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever going to be done. Like we've talked about this before, guys. Like TC, like I figure I'll always have. I feel like probably a bottom part of my collection that I can churn, just even if it's not for budget reasons, for space reasons. It's a tough question. Like. Yeah. If we stop collecting, there's no more podcasts. There's no more reason to do that. And like, I don't know. I think that's kind of like more of a philosophical life question than anything. Like, what is the purpose of collecting?
Yeah, I think, I take his question as like, he is up to date with everything that he wants. And then he has to wait until 2022 for his next round of figures. To come out.
I took that as like done. Like the more collecting hot toys.
I'm going to be collecting forever. My kids are going to be throwing all my collectibles in the dumpster, and when I'm going to the old person's home. I just for me, I mean, like a lot of our listeners have followed us with our collections, ever evolving, deciding a line doesn't work for me, I don't want to complete it. Sell off a few of them to pay for the next figures, the next line. Even outside of 6 scale collecting, my collecting strategy has changed significantly.
Remember when you infamously said, "I'm just sticking to Marvel"?
Yeah, I don't. That doesn't come to mind. I don't. Who is that person? I don't know. Because look at all the Star Wars stuff behind me. The poor Marvel stuff is up above. You can't really see it. So for me, there's definitely like getting Gamora to capping off the Guardians line. In my opinion, the main crew. I'd love to get a Mantis to put in there, but I have a feeling that ship has sailed until maybe Guardians 3. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. I mean, some people have the ability to stop and just pick up a finite amount of things to represent their fandoms, but not me and not you guys either.
No. I mean, TC, what are you, do you see an end point in your collection at any point?
Well, I think you can always, change like what you collect, what lines you collect, breakdown of Hot Toys versus other collectibles. I've been getting into comics recently, as Chris knows, and we've been going back and forth on that, and I've had a lot of fun with that. It's just a little bit different. There's always something like when you start out, like ever since I was little, I like to collect things, so like whether it be baseball cards, Pokemon cards, stuff along those lines, Yu-Gi-Oh, anything that I found cool, I liked it, and I took a break. But there's always something, you can change what you like, change your direction. But if you stop, then it takes away a lot of my it takes away like all my hobbies. I do. This is my main hobby, and I golf, and those are my 2 main things I like to do. So it's hard for me to say that I want to stop. And yeah, I mean, there are things too, like you can get into comics and cards, and you can make those investments. So it's not just strictly a hobby. It can be both, and that's what's kind of fun. That's what's fun about it. That's why you see these markets really emerging. And I don't see myself stopping unless I absolutely had to for some reason, or everyone stops eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just real quick. I took a 9-year break from collecting anything, collectibles wise, but in that time I was still spending money on my cars, and I was spending money on tattoos and that sort of thing. So different ways of spending money and different kind of collecting.
All right, 2 more questions, then we'll get to the feature review of Commander Cody here. So second to last one from Kunji Club. Do we think social media feedback or reactions can be a fairly accurate predictor to eventual production volume when it comes to being waitlisted or sold out on Sideshow? I'll start it. I think it can be valuable, and there are so many good collecting shows out there, way more now, Chris, than when we first started.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to see that. We don't get competitive with anybody else. Our style is not for everybody. I think other shows out there, their style isn't for everybody. So I think I think people gravitate to what they feel comfortable with. And obviously we're just 3 really good friends just talking about this stuff. Just happen to have people listening and viewing along with us. But I think it can have a really big impact if you've got enough people saying good things about something. That can go a long way. I mean, people in the past have told us that they've gotten figures because we've, had personal opinions of saying that things are either better than we expected or we really enjoy it. Not to say that we're influencing anything, but if more in the community start to have, you hate to see groupthink. And just to use kind of a quick like fantasy football reference, you see this all the time when you're talking about breakout players or sleepers and stuff, and one person says it and then the next, and then it becomes more of the people can't get past the groupthink. It's just like, oh, this person is supposed to break out. There's so many people talking about it. I don't necessarily know if it happens so much with collecting here, but if people aren't saying really bad things about something and it's a desirable figure, it's a main character, or maybe it just wasn't, or I mean, the prime example recently is like the Remnant Trooper. It's a good figure. It's not the best figure, but it had such a low production run and that like people weren't really saying anything bad about it, and it just sold out quickly. So I think I would make all my collecting decisions based on it. But if you're finding something, Chris, that nobody's really saying anything bad about, I wouldn't sleep on it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely. We've seen how the 6 scale community has grown in the past 2.5 years. The social media presence, the bloggers, the photographers, Instagram. There's so much more sharing and discussions going on. And I mean, when we mentioned him, just a moment ago, Yakface, if you look at the number of some of his posts about Hot Toys, Star Wars releases, they have a lot of shares and comments and, people that are like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, I need to get into this. This looks amazing. When people in the community that share this information and report on stuff have a big following and they start talking about these items, I mean, it can grow legs, and it can reach a wide number of collectors and people out there, fans out there. I know that when the Ahsoka figure really went up, I mean, that figure just blew up, and that just brought in so many collectors that didn't even know anything about 6 scale collecting. They were just Ahsoka fans, and people asking, where can I order this? How do I do this? I know there was at least 4 people that I got into Hot Toys collecting with that particular figure. People coming to me asking me about Hot Toys, and I think, and then we also saw it last year. I mean, I know it's 1-to-1 scale, but like the Sideshow, the child, the Baby Yoda, I mean, that was major news outlets were picking that up. And that's something that if a figure is prominent enough in 6 scale, that can definitely happen. And you just never know where things are going to go.
Yeah, I mean, social media has an effect on everything. So I mean, it seems like a lot of times Hot Toys still seems niche, but I mean, when you talk about the Ahsoka figure, that's a game changer. It'll be really interesting to see how fast that one sells, because you know there's a lot of pre-orders and people. It's still up there, available at a lot of small places. She's still up there, but that's not due to lack of demand. I think Hot Toys is really opening up the production supply, so it'll be interesting to see how that one fares once it's released. How quick does it sell out? But I think once it is, you're going to see the power of social media.
Yeah,
It's going to get to it.
So Albert had a question about each of our grails. I don't know if it's kind of on the spot, but like just quickly, I know there was one other question I wanted to get to quickly too. I struggle with the term grail, guys.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if it's something desirable, it's not really out anymore, that maybe I have missed. I mean, I've bought and sold so many figures over the last 3 years. It's hard to say what's a grail that's unattainable. I would just say in general, I guess my opinion on this is don't ever wait on something. If you want it, go get it. If it's something that just doesn't ever come around all that much, then maybe that could be considered kind of a grail. But I see it tossed around a lot with even current figures and stuff. And it's just, I don't necessarily agree with what people's assessment of what that means is. Like, to me, a grail is like a one of one, or like, Chris, I know you're into a lot of the pre-prod, Ahsoka stuff. Like, to me, that's a grail.
Yeah. That's the point I was going to make. There's no 6 scale figures, in my opinion. I'm sorry for the answer, but there's none that I consider a grail. If you're willing to pay the money for it, pretty much everything is available at some time, in any given month or whatever, or, even if it's a couple months, you got to wait for something. You could find it if you're willing to pay for it. For me, like you said, it's the grail pieces are, because I come from a vintage collecting background and prototype pre-production collecting. I mean, that's the stuff that is, hand painted sculpts of, 3 3/4 inch figures. Or, I mean, a grail for me, talking about the pre-production stuff, is like a hand painted head sculpt that JC Hong is holding on to in his Instagram pictures.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, you're
grail.
talking, that's grail level, in my opinion, because there's just one of that piece and it's hand touched by the creators of these figures. As far, so
I don't know, TC, do you got any kind of a different take on that grail?
That would be sick if they Hot Toys auctioned off
yes,
their prototype. I would love to see what those kind of things would auction for in the market. The Black Panther prototype, I mean, just some amazing work there. But I mean, grail's hard because it's
arbitrary.
I know the supply numbers they're very high. So 6 scale wise, I mean, if I was to pick one, it would be the Beskar Mando figure. I think that one could end up, down the line, 10, if you were to keep it 10 to 15 years, like, me at 30, it's not a grail, but me at 45, if it's not reissued and that kind of thing, and it becomes like a very sought after piece, or who knows what happens with Hot Toys, is it's part of Disney at that point. I mean, you just never know. Things can change, but right now I don't have a grail at 6 scale. I mean, there are other things, like a couple of my comics. My one comic I have that I just got, I think that's a grail. My Clone Wars 1 from Ahsoka, I think that would be considered one, just because I think it's a 9.8 of Ahsoka Tano's first appearance in the comics. So that, to me, something that I could keep for a very long time, and something that I could, hand down, to next generation, have them keep it, that kind of thing. But
TC, Sean wants to know, is the Collecting Weekly collaboration live stream going to happen in 2021?
I mean, if Dean and them want to do it, I never hear about it. No,
we hear about it all the time.
Yeah, I want it to happen. We have a I want it to happen. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully so.
Happy birthday to Dean. Just had his birthday
Mhm.
yesterday. That sweet angel. One of the best combo in the collecting community, if you ask me. So great stuff over there. I was gonna say the last thing, but then I saw Optical 20 pop
Yeah.
in, and he had a really good question. More of maybe something for a future topic, but would you rather have a cheaper Hot Toys with less accessories, or two head sculpts that is over $300? I mean, sometimes you look at what some of the figures come with, guys, and
Mhm.
like if you just could do like a la carte, like, okay, take this out, take out this, like that Spider-Man classic suit, get rid of the base and the scorpion tail.
Yeah.
Does that drop the figure to 220 or
Right.
200? I don't know. Something to think about here.
Yeah. Sorry. I think that's a great question, and every figure, it's different for every figure, because there's some figures like Hela where I really, really wanted that unmasked head sculpt, and I would have paid like $40 or $50 more to have that extra head sculpt. But then there's other figures that you get all kinds of extra stuff, and unless you're a blogger or a photographer or whatever, it's like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? I would have rather gotten the figure for cheaper, but Hot Toys has their reasons to add, to have certain things in there, but it's a great question, and I think it's one of those ones that we're gonna keep asking ourselves and the community, for forever, because it's just gonna be that way.
And here's a transition, and that's what makes Cody so good. It's 235 or 240. It's got the head sculpt, it's got the accessories, and the quality paint job.
And that's what they call as a segue in the business. So that was extremely professional, TC. I'm going to relent my hosting duties to you one day, I swear. Jonathan was saying earlier that you've got a voice for radio, and you are the eye candy. You have the best voice of the three of us. That's why the show really kicked up a notch when
the ear candy. It's not bad.
Not bad at all. All right, flip gears. Let's talk about Commander Cody. And I feel like we just talked about him because
we did
on the last episode. He finished number 3 in the scavenger voting, which is incredible. This took forever for us to get to us, though. So I'll rattle through the stats. We've talked about the stats before. We've seen these photos before when the figure was released in October. Obviously, Commander Cody from Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. MMS524, that MSRP that TC just mentioned of $243, originally announced on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2019, released on October 1st, 2020, a mere 595 days later. Hot Toys originally thought they were going to get this to us at the beginning of 2020. And Sideshow, obviously, by the time we had collected this data for the website, we had the more accurate time frame of September to November. So I know the original one was at the very beginning of 2020. So TC, you mentioned it already. You just picked up one and a second one that unfortunately had the bum shoulder. I mean, let's deal with the elephant in the room. I think we've got a little bit more time here to talk about that. We didn't want to say too many bad, disparaging things about the figure during the awards ceremony, because it is, oh my god, this for me was like 1B last year with OG Mando. Like I couldn't rate Beskar Mando in my top 5 just because I didn't have it in hand. But to me, this is like there are some things that aren't great about this, but on the other hand, like the detailing, the shelf presence, like I am so excited for the Clone Wars line after this. Shoulder issue aside.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't vote it. I didn't have it in hand, I guess, on the awards show, so I didn't actually vote it in the top 5, which was really stupid. Looking back, because it is definitely a top 5 figure. I really like it. It has the amazing head sculpt to Mara Morrison. The paintwork is awesome, and really everything is just so crisp. The paint job is great. The matte finish, like I said before, I really dig the matte finish. I think it kind of gives it like a more rugged look, and And it's just a clone, and clones are just, they're the best, man. They're the really great designs, Star Wars and Hot Toys. The only thing I don't like about it is the body they used. It does feel a little, not cheap, but it doesn't feel quite as sturdy as something like with the Mando figure or even like a Qui-Gon, like the Jedi figures. It does feel a little bit light. But other than that, hey, great figure. And then the shoulder piece, the little antenna that goes on his shoulder. That's kind of an annoying design. It's like kind of sticks on. I don't know how else they would have done it. Maybe like a thin magnet somehow, but that's probably my one main gripe. But other than that, man, this is a great way to kick off the clones. And Rex is going to be nuts. Man.
It's going to be one for the ages.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, this figure, I haven't had too much time to mess around with it. But yeah, it was highly anticipated. At the time, we're surprised that we were going to get into the clones, and it just took forever. So we kind of got forgotten about for a little while. And then once it got released, I mean, it's just, QC issues aside, I mean, it's just a top-notch figure. Like you're saying, everything you get with this figure, the different looks with the head sculpt, the different, you got 4 guns with it. You get all the holograms, which Nathan would rather do without. You've got the different arm that attaches with the little hologram projector on it. And yeah, I mean, just if this is what clones are going to be like for us, I mean, we're just give us more. And like in some of the promo art, the bloggers really went all out with some of the images that they created. It's just really inspiring for somebody that likes a dynamic display. And this figure just adds all sorts of different options. He can be in your Revenge of the Sith line. He can be eventually in your Clone Wars. You can use the head sculpt. I know a lot of people have put this head sculpt on their Boba Fett to represent a younger Boba Fett, which is cool. And that's what we love about some of these accessories, the head sculpts, different things that can be used for other figures. Yeah, I just love this figure.
Stock on this is going quick. I know on one of the shows we talked about that BBTS somehow got in, like they deal with batches of 24. And I know TCU may have been looking at it, and then all of a sudden, like they were just gone, like after our last episode.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah,
just
it's
flying off the shelves.
It's flying off the shelves. You can't find it anywhere. That's a smaller retailer. I haven't seen one. If you do, it's like $350. It's not $240, whatever the retail price is. So I think it's Sideshow's just getting them in, not second batch or whatever it might be. But if you're gonna collect clones, you may as well start with this one while you can. Get it as cheap as you can, because to be as nimble as you can be with the clones, you're going to get more of them. You don't want to be paying $450, $500 for Cody when there's other ones being released. I'd probably sell, if you can part with something else and you need to, I would probably sell one to get Cody in the collection. I don't have him. He's not quite as good as Mando to me, but yeah, he's elite.
I mean, the cautionary tale on this one is just look at the aftermarket prices for key clones and the Sideshow figures. The Sideshow figures, not all of them have aged well. And you've got like one of the main clones from Clone Wars. And I think you guys said the right thing too. This could fit in with your Revenge of the Sith line. I think it also is going to pair just fine with any of the Clone Wars stuff, because they are going with that realistic look. I mean, this people's appreciation for the prequels goes up more that they understand that the Clone Wars really enhanced the prequels.
Hmm.
And I think in time, I mean, honestly, like I can honestly see like how people feel about the prequels now is eventually how people will feel about the sequels. I mean,
Hmm.
it's Star Wars. They're still good movies. They're maybe not what we wanted, but at the time we didn't know we wanted the prequels, and a lot more people like it now than, you know, I think the loud minority, the people that kind of are out there saying the prequels stink. Well, I think more often than not, people think that they're just fine. So, and I think Clone Wars, the cartoon series, had a lot to really enhance Anakin and the clones and Padme and everything. So you're
Yeah,
right, Chris. They went all out on this figure. Like I just got done
Yeah.
scrolling through all the blogger photos.
I know,
There's so many.
it's great. And the one thing that just kind of came to mind too is, you know, there's a small subsection of the 6 scale community that likes to do customs, and you know, I can see, you know, those customizers going to town on, you know, buying a couple of these and creating some of the other more unique clones and stuff too. So I mean, you've got that aspect sitting there with the potential for customization. And yeah, I mean, I hope, you know, we've gotten a few of the clones so far: 501st, Coruscant Guard, Rex. Yeah, there's other possibilities out there. And do we see Hot Toys put out anything for the Bad Batch series for the Clone Wars?
I think they will. I don't know. Like maybe the four of those, you know, the Clone Force 99 will get
Yeah.
more of a high profile. I mean, if I had to guess, it'd probably be more likely than not that we'll get figures
I mean,
of
if they
those
got,
characters. But
yeah,
I mean, the other clones. And I mean, if you figure, you know, there's 17 to 20 figures they're going to release. If they've got the if they got the clone mold now, what's to stop them from doing a 212? What's to stop them from doing any of the other battalions?
yeah,
It's a quick repaint, and then there's your Toy Fair exclusive. So if you're hanging on to any sideshow points, because they're going to expire at some point next year, and if you're a Star Wars collector, I almost guarantee you're going to get a Toy Fair exclusive this summer that's a clone variant.
it makes sense. Yeah, Wolfpack would be pretty cool.
I love Commander Wolf and the Wolf Pack. That would be high on my list. All right, guys, we are going way long already. Yeah, that's my bad. I didn't do a good job moderating our live topic. But anyway, so let's quickly give a review on this. I have a feeling where it's going to go, but we have to say it anyways. I'll make executive decision for the three of us. Let's rate Commander Cody MMS524 on the number of Order 66 Emperor Palpatine holograms.
Interesting.
You can just say holograms for short, but
Yeah,
I had to get Order 66 in there somehow.
You should go first.
yeah. Let's hear your review.
It's 5. I mean,
Yeah.
even a few of the nitpicky things. I mean, this was 1B for me last year. And any other year that original Mando doesn't release, this is my figure of the year. Shelf presence wise, I love the colors, love the character. There's a lot of potential for this clone line in the future. 5 out of 5 for me.
TC?
Oh. I'm going to say 4.75 because I do the body issue. I mean, there are some QC issues that, you know, we have to speak about. And then I think I would have liked, you know, double jointed knees. I think a lot of the figures now have them. And then sometimes the arm, okay, it's on the right arm. The swap out's a little bit finicky, but
Yeah.
I'll give it a 4.9. Those are pretty minor. It's not perfect. It's my number.
64 episodes in, and we have somebody change their score. Oh man, how are we going to live with ourselves going forward?
Yeah, right.
But
Nobody's ever changed their score before.
that head sculpt,
I'll let it stand.
Yeah.
that head sculpt is money, and that's a great piece to this because you're not going to get that with every clone. So that's going to be an added bonus. The price point, you can't really beat it. So Very, very, very good figure.
All right, Chris.
Yeah. Five Order 66 hollows for me. Yes. Condition, some of the QC issues aside, which as of now mine doesn't have. Yeah, great figure. Can't wait to get him posed up with Obi-Wan or Rex or whatever down the line.
All right, guys. We appreciate everybody tuning in live this evening and or watching this after the fact and or listening to this in audio form on the podcast feed. Starting off the new year, hopefully we're going to get back to our roots a little bit, try to help people out and help collectors as much as we can. And that's certainly, it's been our mission since day one. And I'd like, not that we've strayed or gotten away from that too much, but just to kind of remember why we started this in the first place is kind of our, for lack of a better term, New Year's resolution for the show. So, All right, quick plugs. We've got our website, sixscalescavengers.com, and our database, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Hot Toys, checklist database, however you want to use it. It's got links to stores and retailers and release dates and photos. And it's my little pet project that I spend way too much time on. So hopefully people enjoy it. We've got our TeePublic page, our store there where you can get some of the designs that Roy's done. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Audio podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and sixscalescavengers.libsyn.com. And finally, our good friend Scott with Parker Files. I haven't mentioned him yet, but he just dropped his brand new review unboxing of the Mark 85. I skimmed through it earlier. I got to give it the full watch later. But I mean, bar none, I think Scott's one of the best video reviewers on YouTube, and we're so happy to have him as part of our admin team. So check out his channel, Parker Files, on YouTube. And you can also find it if you go to the Mark 85 page on our website. We also embed Scott's videos there as well.
Yeah, and I think he's itching to get some more of those done too.
Oh, he's got a whole lineup. Yeah, he's got a lot more coming. So stay tuned for his channel for more awesomeness.
Totally.
So TC, a lot of other awesomeness out there. We mentioned him earlier. Six Scale Economist. Check out his channel. Collecting Weekly. Dean, Zach, the Sweet Angels. I've heard a rumor that some fellow scavengers are also going to be having their own show soon.
Yeah.
So congrats to Danny and Mario. I'm looking forward to that endeavor. Those guys are awesome parts of the community too. Yeah,
lots. Just love the friendships out there within the community, and there's just so many content creators now that there's a little bit for everybody.
Yep, great show, fun times. Appreciate the chat. Always love seeing the comments, and thanks everyone for joining. We really appreciate it, and until next time.
And maybe congratulations on 1,000. I don't know if I believe it or not. We had it almost earlier and it didn't work out. So, but that's not the most important thing. We would still do this if we had 10 subscribers. So again, we appreciate all the support and glad that we could be, a little bit of an escape for collectors, this evening when there's a lot of not so good stuff going on out there. So it's fun to be able to still know that there's some good out there in the world. So, all right, guys, great show. Thank you both. Always enjoy the chat. And I'm stalling a moment here, Chris, but bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.